I'd been all these today, but my clothes don't fit. Maybe.
Guy Madison, born as Robert Ozell Mosley on January 19, 1922, in Kern County, California, emerged from modest roots shaped by the hardships of the Great Depression. His upbringing in a small-town environment instilled in him traditional American values, and initially, he had no interest in pursuing a career in show business. After completing his studies at Bakersfield College, he went on to major in animal husbandry, intending to build a future in agriculture. However, the outbreak of World War II would soon change the course of his life. When war erupted, Madison joined the United States Navy and served honorably as a radio operator in the Pacific Theater. His military experience played a defining role in shaping his personality, reinforcing traits such as discipline, humility, and a strong sense of patriotism, qualities that would later endear him to audiences through his on-screen characters. It was during a brief leave in Hollywood in 1944 that Madison's life took an unexpected turn. Talent scout Henry Wilson noticed his striking looks and believed Madison had the potential to become a Hollywood heartthrob. That same year, Madison made his first appearance on screen in the David O. Selznick-produced film Since You Went Away. Though it was a minor, uncredited part, he played a clean-cut soldier, a role that struck a chord with American audiences caught in the throes of war. Despite having no formal acting training, Madison's presence and appearance captured the public's imagination. The response was so enthusiastic that Selznick promptly signed him to a studio contract. By the late 1940s, Madison was appearing in several films that showcased his wholesome, patriotic image. Notable among them were Till the End of Time, 1946, where he starred opposite Robert Mitchum, and Honeymoon, 1947. Though early critical reception to his acting skills was mixed, his honest and approachable demeanor began to win over moviegoers. Madison's biggest breakthrough came when he took on the lead role in the television and radio series The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, which ran from 1951 to 1958. The series, inspired by the legendary lawman of the American frontier, made Madison a household name. Clad in classic Western gear and riding alongside his loyal sidekick Jingles, portrayed by Andy Devine, Madison brought an air of rugged integrity to the character. The show became one of the earliest productions to be broadcast simultaneously on both radio and television, reaching millions each week. Children idolized him, adults respected him, and Madison's face became a staple of American pop culture. He was featured on everything from lunchboxes and comic books to cereal packaging, and he made frequent appearances at public events and rodeos, always maintaining a reputation for being warm and approachable. Even with his success on the small screen, Madison continued acting in films through the 1950s and 1960s. He starred in numerous westerns and action films, with The Charge at Feather River, 1953, standing out for its groundbreaking use of 3D sound effects. As westerns declined in popularity in the US, Madison adapted by moving his career abroad, particularly to Italy. There, he appeared in spaghetti westerns and war films that found popularity with European audiences. Though these productions were often made with limited budgets, Madison approached every role with professionalism and commitment. As time wore on, Madison gradually withdrew from acting. He officially retired in the late 1970s, but remained a beloved figure in the classic film and western fan communities. He regularly attended nostalgic film festivals and conventions, where generations of fans came to honor his work and celebrate his most iconic role. In 1996, his contributions to the genre were formally recognized when he received the Golden Boot Award, a prestigious honor for his legacy in Western television and cinema. In 1949, at the peak of his career in Hollywood, Guy Madison married actress Gail Russell. She was known for her ethereal beauty and emotionally evocative performances in films like The Uninvited, 1944, and Angel and the Bad Man, 1947. Their marriage was seen as a picture-perfect union by the public, two rising stars, youthful and attractive, navigating fame together. Yet, beneath the glamorous surface, their relationship was strained by serious emotional challenges. Russell was a private and highly sensitive woman who suffered from severe social anxiety, an affliction that became worse under the scrutiny and expectations of Hollywood. She also battled alcoholism, which only intensified over time. Though Madison initially tried to be a supportive husband, he eventually found it increasingly difficult to manage the emotional weight and unpredictability that accompanied her condition. while Madison's star continued to rise, especially with the success of The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok. The gap between him and Russell widened. The emotional distance turned into physical separation, and by 1953, they had parted ways. Their divorce was finalized in October 1954. Despite the dissolution of their marriage, Madison reportedly continued to express concern for Russell's well-being, and he showed a degree of compassion for the personal demons she faced. Born as Robert Ozell Mosley on January 19, 1922, in Kern County, California, Guy Madison came from modest beginnings. Growing up during the harsh years of the Great Depression, Madison's early life reflected the grounded values of small-town America. Initially, acting wasn't even on his radar. After graduating from Bakersfield College, he focused on studying animal husbandry, with hopes of establishing a future in agriculture. However, the trajectory of his life shifted dramatically with the outbreak of World War II. Madison enlisted in the United States Navy, serving with honor as a radio operator in the Pacific Theater. His military experience forged qualities that would later define his screen presence: discipline, humility, and a quiet patriotism that resonated with audiences. Then, in a twist of fate during a brief leave in 1944, he was spotted by talent agent Henry Wilson, who was struck by Madison's all-American good looks and saw in him the makings of a Hollywood star. That same year, Madison made his screen debut with a minor, uncredited part in Since You Went Away, a David O. Selznick production. He portrayed a clean-cut soldier, a role that clicked with wartime audiences hungry for relatable heroes. Despite having little acting training, the public's response to his performance was electric. Selznick signed him to a contract, and Madison was quickly ushered into Hollywood's fast track to stardom. In the late 1940s, Madison starred in a string of films that capitalized on his fresh-faced appeal. Notable among these were Till the End of Time, 1946, where he appeared alongside Robert Mitchum, and Honeymoon, 1947. Though critics were initially skeptical due to his limited range, Madison's authentic screen presence gradually earned the admiration of fans and producers alike. His defining role came in the early 1950s, when he was cast as the lead in the television and radio series The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, which ran from 1951 to 1958. Madison portrayed the legendary frontier marshal with a mix of stoic resolve and disarming warmth, becoming a fixture in American households. With Andy Devine as his sidekick, Jingles, Madison became a beloved figure of the golden age of westerns. The show's dual broadcast on TV and radio was pioneering at the time, and merchandise bearing his image, lunchboxes, comic books, and even cereal boxes, made him an icon. Though his success on television was substantial, Madison didn't turn his back on film. Throughout the 50s and 60s, he continued starring in westerns and war dramas, such as the 1953 hit The Charge at Feather River, which was known for its early use of 3D sound effects. As American interest in westerns began to decline, Madison took his career to Europe. He found steady work in Italian-made spaghetti westerns and low-budget war films throughout the 1960s. These roles extended his fame internationally, especially in Italy. Even in lower-budget productions, Madison remained committed to his craft. By the late 1970s, he quietly retired from acting but continued to attend film festivals and Western-themed conventions, where fans young and old remembered him fondly. In 1996, he received a Golden Boot Award, recognizing his lasting contributions to the Western genre. In 1949, at the height of his fame, Guy Madison married actress Gail Russell, a rising star renowned for her poignant performances in films like The Uninvited, 1944, and Angel and the Bad Man, 1947. Their union, while glamorous on the surface, was troubled behind the scenes. Russell, a deeply introspective woman, battled alcoholism and severe social anxiety, burdens that were only made heavier by the unforgiving spotlight of Hollywood. Initially supportive, Madison found himself increasingly unable to withstand the emotional strain. As he rose to greater stardom with Wild Bill Hickok, the couple drifted apart. They separated in 1953, and their divorce was finalized in October 1954. Despite their separation, Madison reportedly remained empathetic toward Russell and the difficulties she endured, even as their paths diverged. Later that same year, Madison wed actress Sheila Connolly in a civil ceremony in Juarez, Mexico, a city known for its swift legal proceedings. Connolly, noted for her appearances in 1950s westerns, shared Madison's love for nature and family values. They settled into married life and had 3 daughters, Bridget, Erin, and Dolly. Madison, who had come from a large family himself, took pride in being a father and did his best to balance career demands with family life. However, the realities of working in Hollywood, especially with Madison frequently traveling between the US and Europe, put stress on the marriage. The couple separated in November 1960 and finalized their divorce in April 1963. Nevertheless, Madison maintained a respectful relationship with Connolly and remained actively involved in raising their daughters. In the years that followed, Madison entered into a long-term relationship with actress Jacqueline Scala, known for her work in films such as The Guns of Navarone, 1961. Their romance was never formalized by marriage, but it was described by those close to them as intense and emotionally rich. Like Russell, Scala struggled with depression and alcoholism. Still, her connection with Madison endured through difficult times. Before her tragic and mysterious death in 1972, Scala named Madison as the beneficiary of her share of the Screen Actors Pension Fund. This quiet act of loyalty revealed the depth of their relationship, suggesting that their bond transcended traditional labels or societal expectations. In addition to his daughters, Madison also had a son, Robert Madison, from another relationship later in life. Raised in Italy, where Guy spent much of his later career, Robert followed in his father's footsteps and pursued acting. He built a respectable career in European television and cinema. Despite the physical and generational distance, father and son remained close. Guy was known to offer heartfelt guidance and professional wisdom, encouraging Robert to embrace resilience and discipline, virtues that had shaped his own journey through Hollywood. To the public, Guy Madison was the embodiment of rugged masculinity, the soft-spoken cowboy, the principled soldier, the romantic heartthrob of the 1940s and 50s. But behind the camera and away from the press, Madison lived a far more private and complex life, constrained by the suffocating morality of the studio era. In a time when a mere hint of homosexuality could end a career, he concealed a vital part of his identity. Years after his death, a posthumously compiled memoir based on personal letters and interviews offered a more intimate view of the man behind the myth. Madison shared previously hidden details about his relationships with other actors, men who, like him, were forced to live their truths in secrecy. Among the most touching revelations was his romantic connection with Ramon Novarro, the silent film legend best known for Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, 1925. Madison wrote of Novarro with reverence, describing him as gentle, deeply spiritual, and far wiser than anyone gave him credit for. The two would rendezvous in discreet corners of West Hollywood or escape to Palm Springs, far from the prying eyes of Hollywood. What we found there was peace, Madison reflected, the kind neither of us could claim in our public lives. Another deeply personal relationship he recalled was with Tyrone Power, the dashing star of swashbuckling epics, whose bisexuality remained an unspoken rumor throughout his life. Madison remembered Power as magnetic and torn between two worlds, his personal truth and the expectations of his stardom. He wrote, "We connected in the twilight of his fame, when the cameras stopped rolling and the masks came off. In those rare, quiet moments, we were just two men searching for love in a world that wouldn't let us have it." Following the finalization of his divorce from Gail Russell in late October 1954, Guy Madison wasted little time in remarrying. He tied the knot with actress Sheila Connolly in a civil ceremony in Juarez, Mexico, a location that had become a popular haven for those seeking swift marriages and divorces during that era. Connolly, noted for her appearances in 1950s westerns and dramatic films, shared Madison's fondness for nature and family-centered living. At first glance, their union appeared grounded in affection and shared values. The couple quickly embraced domestic life and eventually welcomed 3 daughters, Bridget, Erin, and Dolly. Having grown up in a large family himself, Madison reportedly cherished fatherhood and made conscious efforts to balance his career in Hollywood with quality time at home. Still, the demands of show business, particularly Madison's frequent travel for film and television work, both stateside and in Europe, began to place significant strain on the marriage. By November 1960, they had separated, and the divorce was made official in April 1963. Despite the end of their marriage, Madison maintained a civil and respectful relationship with Connolly, remaining a consistent presence in the lives of their daughters. In the years that followed, Madison entered into a meaningful relationship with actress Georgia Mull, often referred to by friends as Giacala, a captivating woman of mixed Italian and Irish descent, known for her role in films like The Guns of Navarone, 1961. Although they never married, their relationship was described by those close to them as emotionally rich and complicated. Giacala, admired for her combination of allure and fragility, struggled with personal issues, including depression and alcoholism, challenges that echoed those faced by Madison's first wife. Nevertheless, the emotional connection between Madison and Giacala endured. According to various biographies, the bond was so profound that prior to her tragic and unexplained death in 1972, she named Madison as the sole beneficiary of her share of the Screen Actors Guild pension. The gesture was widely seen as one of deep affection and trust, underscoring the significance of their relationship despite its unconventional nature. In addition to his 3 daughters with Connolly, Madison had a son, Robert Madison, who was born from a later relationship and ultimately pursued a career in acting himself. Raised in Italy, where Madison spent a substantial portion of the 1960s and 70s, starring in European cinema, particularly in spaghetti westerns, Robert found success in Italian television and film. Though separated by geography and a generation, Guy Madison maintained a meaningful relationship with his son, offering mentorship and emotional support as Robert navigated the challenges of the entertainment world. Madison's guidance reflected the same adaptability and strength that had sustained his own decades-long career. To the world, Guy Madison was the chiseled, soft-spoken star of war movies and westerns, best known for portraying Wild Bill Hickok in the long-running television series The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok. His rugged charm, quiet demeanor, and classic good looks earned him the adoration of countless fans, especially during the 1940s and 50s. Yet behind the Hollywood image was a deeply personal reality, one shaped by rigid studio-era morality and the omnipresent fear of being outed in a time when homosexuality was taboo and often career-ending. A posthumously published memoir, compiled from Madison's personal letters and interviews, peels back the public facade to reveal the man behind the fame. In it, he recounts heartfelt and private relationships with several fellow actors, many of whom were also forced to live double lives. These stories are not told with scandal in mind, but with dignity and reverence, offering insight into the lives of men who loved in secret, fearing the consequences of honesty in an unforgiving era. One such relationship was with silent film legend Ramon Navarro, best remembered for his lead role in Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, 1925. Ramon was spiritual and wiser than he let on, Madison wrote. We'd meet quietly in West Hollywood or escape to Palm Springs, telling the world we needed rest. What we really found was peace, something our public lives could never offer. He also speaks fondly of Tyrone Power, the swashbuckling star whose bisexuality was widely rumored but never publicly confirmed. Madison remembered him as magnetic yet tormented, a man navigating the dual burdens of fame and hidden truth. We connected in the fading days of his stardom, he said, when the cameras stopped and the personas fell away. We were just 2 men wondering what love might look like in another life. Another figure revealed in the memoir is Anthony Perkins, the enigmatic star of Psycho. Their relationship, though brief, left a lasting impression. Tony was young, always wary, like he was guarding something fragile, Madison recalled. We shared a few months, intense but shadowed by fear. He was never fully at ease, even with someone who understood. But perhaps the most poignant chapter was reserved for Rock Hudson. His death from AIDS-related complications in 1985 forced Hollywood to confront its hypocrisy and denial. Madison described their relationship as both joyful and bittersweet. Rock had the smile of a golden boy and the soul of a man broken into pieces to survive, he wrote. Our moments were stolen. Weekends in Big Bear, candlelit dinners in the canyon, but they were real, and they mattered. Throughout his reflections, Madison avoids sensationalism. His tone remains introspective, respectful, and deeply human. These were not fleeting affairs, he emphasizes, but connections forged in adversity. We didn't date like people do now, he explained. It was coded, cautious, but it was real. We laughed, held hands under tables, watched the sunrise, and dreamed about lives we couldn't openly live. The memoir also sheds light on the heavy toll secrecy exacted on gay actors of the era. Madison writes candidly about the suffocating fear of tabloid scandals, morality clauses in studio contracts, and the emotional exhaustion of living a double life. There were days I thought I'd lose my mind pretending, he confesses. Every interview, every staged photo with a co-star, it was all theater. But the real acting happened off-screen. Yet within that darkness, there were also moments of quiet victory. Secret letters, furtive glances, comforting touches in hidden spaces. In a world that tried to deny us love, Madison wrote, we found it anyway. His decision to share his truth, even posthumously, helps reframe the legacy of many forgotten or misrepresented LGBTQ+ individuals who contributed to the fabric of Hollywood's golden age. Madison's memoir doesn't just reclaim his narrative, it honors a broader community forced to live in shadows. After concluding a prolific career in film and television, Guy Madison chose to retire to the serene surroundings of Morongo Valley, a tranquil desert enclave in Southern California. Known for its sweeping mountain vistas and calming desert landscape, it offered the solitude and beauty he longed for. There, he constructed a sprawling ranch-style home that reflected both his love for the outdoors and his desire for peace. The home served as more than just a residence. It became a haven where Madison could host friends, tend his garden, ride horses, and live quietly away from the spotlight that had followed him for decades. These pursuits, rooted in simplicity and nature, felt fitting for a man who had built his career in westerns and action-adventure roles. In his later years, Madison's health deteriorated. He suffered from emphysema, a debilitating lung condition often linked to smoking, which severely impacted his mobility. Despite this, he remained active to the extent his health allowed, receiving visitors and keeping in touch with old friends and fans who remembered him for the legacy he left behind. Guy Madison passed away on February 6, 1996, at the age of 74, at the Desert Hospital Hospice in Palm Springs, California, a facility recognized for its compassionate care. His death marked the close of a significant chapter in Hollywood history, especially for those who had admired him in his iconic role as Wild Bill Hickok. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Cathedral City, California, among many other legendary figures of film and television. His funeral was a modest but deeply heartfelt ceremony, attended by family, longtime friends, and former colleagues. One of the most touching tributes came from Don Burnett, a close friend and fellow actor-turned-stockbroker. In his eulogy, Burnett celebrated Madison not only for his cinematic achievements, but for his quiet strength, loyalty, and authenticity. His words echoed the sentiment shared by many. Guy Madison lived with honor, dignity, and a resilient heart that continued to beat quietly, even when the cameras stopped rolling.